It's a little bit windy, it's a little bit blustery up here, so I am going to be switching to the other camera in a moment so you can hear me properly. I thought this would give you a taster for how windy it is. We've got a downstream wind. As you can see, the peg behind me, this is the wonderful River Trent. I'm going to be fishing the feeder on two different lines. On one line I'm just going to be fishing for anything, but I'm hoping we might catch a bream, and I'm also going to be fishing further across towards that other bank where I'm hoping we have a chance of a barbel. Well, I'm going to be fishing two different ways today. I'm going to be targeting around the middle of the river where I'm going to be fishing with some ground bait, with some dead reds and some chopped worm. I think we're going to catch some small fish on that line, but I am hoping for one or two bream. However, it's painfully clear. The water clarity is so clear. I just don't know if that ground bait approach is going to work today, but I'll talk you through that approach in a moment. And then I've got a bigger rod set up. I've got a 13-foot rod set up for casting across towards that other bank where I'm going to fish with a maggot feeder. I'm going to be putting some hemp through as well. I'm not going to fish too selective, possibly just with bunches of maggots on the hook, and hopefully we might snare a better fish further across towards that other bank. Well, it's a very blustery day, like I say, and the rain's coming now. I just want to talk to you about the ground bait. I'm going to use a new ground bait today. It's a ground bait I've never used before. I'm going to be using one of the Van Den Eynde mixers. Now, I've actually got two to choose from. These are from Van Den Eynde, like I say, and one of them is the G5 Special and the other is the Record Sweet. Now, I'm going to get out and fish with both of these mixers at some stage. However, at the moment, obviously, I can only decide on one. Now, the Record Sweet is basically an all-round mix. It's a cereal mix. There isn't any fish meal in this mix, and as the name suggests, it is sweet. Okay, so that's a pretty much catch anything kind of a mix. As you can see from the pictures of the fish actually on the bag, it's for targeting everything, but it is a cereal-based mix. And the other mix that I've got today is again Van Den Eynde, but it's the G5 Special. Now, I'm sure lots of you know about G5. We've used it for years and years and years. It's a fantastic all-round mix. It's a cereal mix again. This is a cereal mix, so I'm not going down the fish meal route today, but this is the G5 Special. And the way that this differs from the G5, having spoken to Van Den Eynde, basically this is a spicier mix. So it's like the G5, it's a slightly different colour, as you can see, and it's spicier. And they've found that in testing and through when they were developing this mix, they say that they caught a lot of the bigger roach that they were targeting on the venues where they fish. So that's going to be an interesting mix to use. I can't use both today, and I'm not going to mix them both together, because if I do that, it's going to it might give us a mixed response to the mix. So because the water clarity is so clear, because I know that there are some roach feeding, and I possibly think there might be more roach feeding than bream at the moment because it's so clear, I'm going to go down the G5 Special route, partly because you know, they've said it will single out, or it can catch the better sized roach, but it is slightly darker as well, which I think is going to work in our favour in this clear water. So let's get it mixed up, see what it mixes like. I've never even looked at this mix before, so I've no idea even what it smells like. I'm gathering it's going to be like the G5 that we know and we've used for years. And it has, yeah, it's got a hint of, the boats are coming now, it's got a hint of spice in there. So let's get this mixed up, let's see what it mixes like. I'm not going to mix too much, I'm only going to be fishing with a small feeder down the middle, and I keep saying down the middle, I haven't decided where I'm going to fish yet. I'm just going to have a good plumb round with a bomb and a stopwatch and just find out where any deeper areas are. But as you can see, it is quite a light mix. Usually in clear water like this I would use a darker mix, but part of today is trying this mix out. So let's give it a go. I'm not mixing too much. There's about a pint and a half, 2 pints there, because I'm fishing two lines today, so I will be spending half of the session or large portions of the session further across trying to catch a barbel. But there isn't much feed in this mix, as you can see. I will be putting it through a sieve, but having said that, there are lots of particles in there, but they are very, very small. So I wouldn't say it's you know, there's loads of feed in this mix. It's going to go darker as we mix it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it about 20 minutes just to make sure it's got plenty of time to rest and soak in that water. Then I'll put it through a sieve so it's nice and fine for fishing, and if I need to add more water to it, then obviously I can do that. But there you go, it's darkened down quite a bit actually. Let's just show you See, that's the mix before it's actually had water added to it. So I'm going to give that 20 minutes now. I'll put it through a fine sieve. If it needs some more water adding, then I'll add some more water to it. So that's the mix. I'll talk you through the baits when I get down onto the box, on the side tray, and I'll just go through how I'm going to look for the areas that I'm going to fish today with a stopwatch, with a bomb, and then I'm going to choose my lines. Well, these pegs here are pretty much an unknown to me, so I've got to somehow decide what lines I'm going to fish. Now, I'm pretty sure that the barbel line, I keep calling it a barbel line, I don't even know if we're going to get one or not, but I'm going to pull that line about 2 or 3 meters off that other bank. Okay, I've just been told through verbally that about 3 meters off that other bank might be the right spot to target if that's the way that I'm going to fish, or if I'm going to fish for bigger fish. So I'm going to leave that to the local knowledge. Now, the other line is the other line where I'm going to fish with groundbait, I'm going to fish with maggots and some chopped worm, and just see if we can catch anything. I'm not sure where to put that line in, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to cast a bomb out. This is a 30-gram bomb. Okay, I'll show you the rig in a moment once we've done this, but what I'm going to do is get a stopwatch, and I'm just going to get an idea of what the contours of the peg are like. Okay, so I've no idea what it's like out there, so I don't know if the deepest bit is in the middle. I don't know, it could be this side. A lot of people follow the lines that the boats are on, and as you probably noticed then, that boat went straight down the middle. However, some of the other boats that have been through today have only been about 15 meters out, so that might be the deepest bit. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cast a bomb out. This is a 30-gram bomb. I just time with a stopwatch how long it takes to hit the bottom, and just work my way across just to get an idea where that deepest bit is. Okay, so I'm going to start pretty short, only about 10 or 12 meters. Start the stopwatch as soon as it hits the surface and stop it when it hits the bottom. So as you can probably see there, 4.6 seconds. Okay, so that was about 12 meters out. So all I'm going to do now is just cast this bomb a bit further now. This might not help you out in any way, but what it is going to do is at least give you an idea of what the peg's like. So that's about 20 meters. 4.6, exactly the same. So from about 12 meters to 20 meters, it's bang flat. And 4.6 is the maximum depth we've got. So I'm going to put this a little bit further out now. Just reset the stopwatch. Just go out to about 25, 30 meters. Let's see what that's like there. 3.3. So that would suggest it's actually getting shallower when you get towards the middle. So all I'm going to do now is go a bit further across again. So I'm going to go even further now. So this is going to be probably over halfway. 3.7. So it's actually getting a little bit shallower. So what I'm going to do now is go probably 3/4 of the way across now, where I'm approaching that longer line that I'm going to be fishing with a maggot feeder. Okay, and we'll get an idea of what it's like over there. Same again. Came back very, very slow as well, I've got to say that. So that would suggest it's quite a soft bottom. There could be debris out there, we don't know. So based on that, I'm going to put my main line, or the ground bait line, just short of halfway. So I'm going to put it in that 4.6 second depth. So I'm going to find out where the maximum of that depth is. So I think it's going to be about there. 4.1. So I'm just going to come back slightly from that. So all I'm going to do now is clip up. I could go to the sticks now and measure that and get an exact reading of what that range is, and I can fish to that clip all day. And if it does come off for any reason, because I've measured it, if I have got to take the clip off or anything, then I can quickly go to the sticks, re-clip up, and then I know I'm fishing bang on that same spot. Now the tackle that I'm using today is by no means specialised river feeder fishing tackle. This is tackle that I use on still waters as well. I already know that there is little flow here today, so we might find that we've only got a light feeder on that's needed to hold bottom. The wind, as you can see, is blowing from left to right, and that's the same direction as the river, so the river is flowing that way. So with that downstream wind, we might find that we need to have a slightly heavier feeder on than normal, than what we would do if there wasn't any wind. But the kit that I'm using, I've just clipped up the line in that deepest water, or the far side of the deepest water, which was in 4 point whatever seconds it was. I've just clipped up and it's at exactly 23 meters, so that's not a long cast by any means. On that line I'm fishing the XC class 3.6 meter. It's just a 60 gram rod, and I think we're probably going to be able to hold bottom with about 30 gram, but we'll find that out when we get out there. If you're interested in seeing more detailed specifics about the kind of kit that I'm using, in the description box underneath this video there are links to all these major bits of tattle. I'm coupling that with a 5000, it's the Horizon 5000 reel, and on that I've got 6 pound Horizon mono on that line, but I've also got a tapered leader on there as well. It's one of the tapered leaders that Matrix do. Again, the links are in the description below. So I have got a leader on, it's only about 5 meters long, and that's the 6 pound mono, and that is the main rig that I'm going to be using on both rods really. So all it is, I've got exactly the same rig on the other rod. As you can see, it's just a snap link swivel trapped within a loop. Okay, so the feeder is just going to be trapped in there, in that loop, and then below that I've just got 2 other loops. As you can see, because this is a tapered leader, this is the 12 pound end, so this is the thickest, strongest end of that tapered leader. So that means, as you can see, the rig is nice and stiff and very durable. On rivers like this, we don't know what we might be encountering out there. There could be snags, there could be anything out there, and obviously having a stronger rig is just going to give you a better chance of landing any bigger fish that you do hook if it is snaggy. So we've just got 2 loops below that, and that is the loop there where I would attach the hook length. So that is the line, the 23 meter line rig and setup. So that's quite light, and that is coupled with just a 2 ounce tip in that rod. Okay, and I've already tested that with the bomb, and I know that that's just about all right for the amount of flow that we're faced with. Now for casting further across to that other bank, range wise I would say that's about 45 meters ish. I'm not going to fish clipped up. I would like to fish clipped up, but from what I've been told, if we do hook one of these big fish, I want every chance of landing it. You know, if that was a match, I'd want to do that, but I certainly want to do it today for you as well. So the rig that I'm using, the rod is the XD, so it's the XD class 4 meter. Okay, this is the 100 gram version. Again, this is the same sort of rod that I would use on still waters as well. Descriptions to all this kit is underneath for you. So that's the 13-foot rod. That's just going to allow me to get out there accurately and easily. That wind does keep gusting, so I've got the 13-foot rod, and that's coupled with a 5000 Horizon reel. It's got 6 pound Horizon mono on there. I've got another shock leader on there, and again I've got exactly the same rig as before, exactly the same. The feeder's going to be running in there. I'm going to be fishing a maggot feeder on that line, and again it's just a series of loops. This one's got 3 loops below it because I'm going to be fishing with a longer tail on this. I've been told about the barbel in this river now. You tend to have to fish with a longer hook length, a longer tail to try and entice them. A lot of them have wised up, so I'm going to fish with a slightly longer hook length than normal. So that is the setup, really nice and simple. So I'm going to talk you through the bait tray. I'll show you what I've got on the tray, and I'll also tell you about the approach, about which line I'm going to start on and what I expect to happen. Well, as you can see, it's really nice and comfortable on these big stones. But obviously with this setup you can get this comfortable wherever you are. Double side trays, lots of people ask about this. Some of this main stuff is in the description box below if you want to see more of it. Just got 2 rods on the roost. I've got a single feeder arm. Now Matrix do make another feeder arm that's specific for rivers. It's got 2 arms on it, and that's the one you've seen me use before. I wanted to try the single arm one today just to see how sturdy it is under these conditions. So it's going to be interesting to see how that performs. A lot of people ask about the rod rest. Now the main reason why we use a rest like this one on rivers like this is because you're only really putting the rod in one position. So when it's on the rest, it's on the rest, it's there. And obviously, as you can imagine, you're casting out, you're netting fish and that sort of thing. You want it really, really narrow. If you had a really, really wide one like this, well, when it's positioned there up in the air, it's going to be getting in your way. And when you're only putting the rod in one position, like we're going to be doing today, there's no point in having a wide rest. So that's why a nice single locating rest like that is ideal. So as you can see, it's just not going to get in the way as you're moving the rod around. Okay, keep net positioned in front of me, 4 meter river keep net, perfect. That's what this is designed for. Now to the business end. This is the bait tray. I'm using the side tray box. There we go. Nothing complicated about it, as you can imagine. That's the G5 special that we've got. I had to add a little bit more water to it. I put it through a fine sieve, and as you can see, it's a lovely mix, that, and it is spicy. You can smell the spice in there. We've got maggots. I've got loads of maggots. I've got 2.5 pints of maggots altogether. I'm going to be using those in the maggot feeder across on that far bank, and I'm also going to be putting some hemp in as well. We know barbel love hemp, and it's just a nice bait, a nice bed bait to put down that's going to lay there on the bottom. Okay, we've got some dead reds that I'm going to be putting in on that shorter line, on the 23 metre line. I don't think there'll be any bream caught today, it's so clear, but we've got dead reds there. And then here, that I'm only going to introduce sparingly to start with, are dendrobinas. So I'm going to be chopping those and putting those in on that groundbait line at 23 metres, only sparingly. I'm not going to put a lot in, but obviously if we start catching skimmers or bream or bigger fish, then I can introduce more of those. I've got plenty of those with me. Okay, so that's it. Really nice, super simple. Now the feeders we're going to be using are these. Okay, so on the groundbait feeder line, I'm going to be using an open end feeder. I think 30 gram is going to be more than enough actually. I might even get away with a 20 gram. We'll find out when we start fishing it. So that's the style of feeder I'm going to be using. It's a side weighted feeder, which are ideal for rivers because you don't want that feeder to be rolling. You want it to be stationary on the bottom, and these have also got these grooves in them as well, which help grip the bottom, which are great. So I think that's the feeder we're going to be needing. If it is flowing more than I think, then the 40 gram version will be good, and if it's even less, and if we are after small fish or just bites, I might have to scale down even further, try and move the feeder a little bit and just fish for anything really. But I'm going to kick off on the 30 grammer, and then fishing across, I'm going to be fishing with a these are black cap maggot feeders, Kamasan. Some of these have had the holes opened out, and that's just so they empty quicker, and it also allows hemp to empty better out of these feeders as well. I think 40 gram might be enough, but it just depends how that wind's going to be affecting it. We might need to step up to the 50 gram, and I'm going to start off quite confidently I'll be filling that to start with, just to get some bait out there, see what's out there. And obviously if we're not catching or I want to cut back, I can just half fill it, but I'm going to put in half and half in there, hemp and maggot. And I've also got a 20 grammer there, because if we are struggling for bites on that shorter line, then a maggot feeder I'm sure will get us plenty of bites from smaller fish. So that is the maggot feeder that I will use on that 23 metre line if they don't want ground bait. As regards hooks, I've got lots made up, as you can see. I'm going to be kicking off with a size 16 hook, I think, with a metre hook length on that 23 metre line. So that's what I'm going to start with on that line. And I'm going to kick off on that far bank line with the maggot feeder. I'm going to feed the 23 metre line first, cast across, start the session right across, and give that groundbait line some time to settle, catch what we can long. I'm going to offset the groundbait line slightly downstream, so I'm not reeling the maggot feeder across the top. And then hopefully when that 23 metre line's had some time to settle, hopefully we'll drop on that and there'll be some fish waiting for us. So what I'm going to do is kick off with a 30 grammer. I think that'll be enough. So I'm just going to feed that short line. I'm just going to put about 5 feederfuls of ground bait there with a little bit of feed in. Not going to put too much bait in, but that's it. Lovely little feeders these for fishing like this. Just going to put this slightly downstream. There we go. Tip down, just get that line down onto the water, and that's really how I'm going to be fishing it, just like that. Now, 2 ounce tip should be just about right. So that was just ground bait. Well, the next 4 I'm going to put a bit of bait in now, so I'm going to put some dead reds in and a bit of chopped worm. Just sandwich it in the feeder, as you can see. No point squeezing it in too tight. You want it to stay in so it's going to hit the bottom, but you don't want to have to wait ages for it to empty, because we're going to be bringing this straight back in. I am going to put some live maggots on this line as well. Like I said, I mean, it'd be nice to catch skimmers or 1 or 2 bream, but I just don't think that's going to happen today. Everything I hear about this river at the moment is that when it's as clear as this, they just don't feed. But we might get pleasantly surprised. But if not, if there's some live maggots there, some smaller baits, then we might catch some roach and perch. I'm sure there'll be some of those fish there. Might even be some dace as well. Going to be leaving this at least, just going to put some live maggots in now. Going to be leaving this at least 45 minutes or so. So we might want to top it up in a bit, but we'll see how that long line goes. So that's it, 5 feeder fulls gone in there now. So now what I'm going to do is start off across. So I'm not going to pre-bait this line. I'm just going to fish it right from the first cast. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is we'll try a 40 gram feeder. I think that'll be enough, to be honest. But like I said, this sort of fishing, it's trial and error. You can't always judge it right first time. And you want it to hold just. You don't want it to be holding. You don't want to have too much weight on if you don't need it. You know, it's nice to have a nice balance. Let's just have a look what we've got in here. They're 10s, 12s, 50 centimetres. Ideally we want one that's going to be at least a metre long. There should be some in here. Let's have a look. I've got some in here from the Iberian Masters as well. That's where we were fishing for carp. There we go. That's a 12, it's a super spade hook, which is super strong. 0.19, 1 metre hook length. Let's kick off with that, see what happens. That's the beauty about having hook lengths ready tied, you know, you're not messing about on the bank. Really strong hook lengths. There are double figure barbel in here, but there are smaller fish as well. And like I said, I'm not going to fish clipped up. I don't usually fish with the drag set, but I will be doing today just in case. Some of these barbel bites can be vicious. The last time I fished a Division 1 National on this river, I wasn't far from here, it was at Fiskerton. And I ended up with 2 barbel that day. I was 9th overall individually in the National, Division 1 National that day, and that was just 2 barbel. One was 4 kilo or 4.5 kilo, and the other one was 5 kilo. As you can see, that's a lovely strong hook. I'm just going to kick off with multiple maggots on there. 3 maggots I'll kick off with. 3 live maggots, and then just half fill the feeder with half maggot, half emp. Put the emp in first. If you put the maggots in first, the maggots can be escaping while you're putting your emp in. What I am going to do is I'll vary this as I'm fishing. You know, sometimes I might put more maggots in. We'll just see what reaction we get. So I'm not clipped up. Remember, you've got a longer hook length on this, a longer tail. So just make sure there's no long grass behind you, which is what can happen on these venues. It's just going to be a case of gauging how far we're going to be to that other bank. There we go. Big loop in the line that time. That wasn't ideal. Might need more weight on, but we'll find out. Well, that's holding all right. There was a big loop, a bigger loop than normal than what I'd want on that cast, so that was the first cast. So next time I'm going to punch it a little bit harder. But that's given me an idea of the range now. The feeder's holding fine. There is quite a bow in the line, but on rivers I always like to fish with a bow anyway. So, and with fish like this, you know, you'll see the bite anyway. Always watch that first cast. When you cast into an area where you think the fish are already there, you know, it's not like on a bream water where you've kind of got to feed your spot to get the fish there. You know, this is a little bit different. It's like when you cast into islands or cast into fish holding features. Always watch that first cast, because that might be the only opportunity you get to get a fish. You know, if there is a fish in residence. Now that just moved back slightly. Didn't look like a bite, but it just moved slightly. but I think that feeder's just about right. There's quite a big bow in it, like I say, a bigger bow than normal, but that is holding fine. So I'm quite happy to fish that out, and then next time I'll just punch the feeder a little bit harder and make sure I catch it just to straighten out that line before it hits the surface. Well, that was a tiny drop bite. I didn't even think it was a fish, to be honest, or a bite. I thought it was just the wind, just dislodging the feeder slightly. It's like I say, it's only a 40 gram feeder, it's just about holding. So any slight gust of wind or anything is going to move the feeder. But I picked up a speculative pickup, and there's a fish on. It's not a big fish, but it's going to be really interesting to see what it is, because I still don't know really what we're after. I know there's barbel here, but it could be a roach. I don't know if there are chub in this bit. So I'm just going to try and make sure we can land him. I don't know if it's a chub. Looks like a chub to me. He's not really gone on a run as such. Just trying to get under these rocks. Got him, there we go. Let's have a look what it is. It's a barbel. It's a barbel. How about that? That's the smallest barbel I've ever caught. But what a fantastic start. Probably the 4th or 5th cast. Absolute fantastic condition. Still got plenty of power left in him really, but look at him tensing up. What a fantastic fish, look at that. Beautiful fish. Hooks come straight out, which is great. What an absolutely gorgeous fish. And you wouldn't even think it was a bite. Usually you expect that with barbel. It was literally just drop bite. It was just eased bite really. But I picked up just in case. There we go, beautiful fish. If I get any barbel today, I'm not going to put them in the keep net, just because we know what a delicate fish they can be. So I'm going to pop him straight back. But that's a fantastic start. He's only probably £2. Let's pop him back. Right, well, no need to change anything. Let's just go again with 3 reds on. I like to help prevent spin-ups. Hook the sharp end, and then the thicker end of the maggot. Stop spin-ups that way, and it leaves quite a bit of the hook exposed as well. So now the holes in this particular feeder are opened out now at the top, so that's to let the hemp out. So now I'm putting maggot in first, a few maggots, and then a bit of hemp at the top, and the hemp is at the top edge where those bigger holes are. Okay, so let's get this back out there, see if there's any more waiting for us. This wind's making casting a little bit tricky over there, but you can get over there no problem. It's just trying to gauge it with the gusts. You still want to be accurate even though you're on a feed on a river. One thing we knew from that was how delicate that bite was. I thought any barbel bites we might get today would literally be pulling the rod in like they normally do, but that was just a really, it just dropped back, and it wasn't a sharp drop back, it was just a really slow drop back. I only picked up because I thought it might have been a small fish on there or something. There are dace out there. I've had a couple of maggots smashed, but I know there's dace, or they could be bleak as well. It is shallower over there, but it's a metre tail with 3 maggots on, and maggots are always going to attract the attention of those smaller silvers. So now I know in future any indications like that, I'll just pick up on it, just in case. Like that. Now I don't know if that's gone straight in the snag. Yeah, that's locked up. I was warned that there could be snags over there. That's a shame. Just drop back again slightly. That's why I picked up, but I'm straight into a snag. Oh, it's pull free. Right, okay, that's interesting. Well, yeah, expect things like that on these sorts of rivers, especially when you're fishing across there like that. Hopefully we've not lost any of the rig. Let's have a look. I don't think we will have. It didn't feel like it broke. With gear like this, you tend to know when it's broke. Yeah, it's not sure if that must have just been the feeder what was locked up. We expect that. That's why we're fishing with heavy tattle. I mean, we are after big, well, potentially going to hook a big fish anyway. That's why we've got this heavier gear on. But it's one of them things, if you hook one, you want to land it. Just going to go over my right shoulder now. Just allowing for that feeder to come round. That's it. I've just put a clip on now. After that, the cast before that fish, before that barbel, I decided to clip up. I know I'm taking a risk because if I do hook a fish, a big fish that runs, I'm going to have to get that clip off quickly as possible. But I'm willing to take that chance for hooking a fish. I mean, I'm just glad we've got one so far. I didn't know if we were going to get anything, but... So I'm going to leave the clip on now and just see how we go with that. At least we know, whilst it's a little bit blustery, a little bit wild, getting the feeder out there, obviously direction we can gauge. But obviously with a clip on, it's just going to ensure that, you know, we're building up that bed of bait there, you know, those maggots and that hemp going in on that same spot. I think we expected those, didn't we? Little dace. Well, that's been exactly an hour. I've had a couple of bleak and the barbel, obviously, across there. But I'm going to have a look on that shorter line now. Plenty of feed's gone out there. I must have fed, well, I've had quite a few casts out there now. Plenty of maggots has gone out there, some hemp's gone out there. So I can just rest that line now. One thing that isn't happening is I'm not getting indications, or I'm not getting bust baits from bleak and things out there on that line. Maybe all the bait I put in's fed them off, I don't know, but so that's a good sign because it means I can leave it in for a better fish now. So I'm going to leave that alone now. I'm going to have a look on that 23 metre line. Hopefully there's going to be some fish waiting for us. So I'm just going to kick off with a size 16 hook, or 13 hook length. And I'm not going to start on a really long tail. I'm just going to start on 50 centimetres. I've got a feeling that there are going to be some small fish there, possibly dace, roach and perch. I'm confident of that. We are obviously hoping it'd be nice if there are any skimmers or bream there, but so I just think kicking off with a really long tail might just encourage those bleak and smaller fish, which, you know, if we've got to catch them, we will do. But what I'm going to do is just kick off 50 centimetre hook length. I'm just going to start on a single red maggot, just to get a feel for what's there. And it'd be nice if there's a few fish there that's been waiting over this ground bait. Smells beautiful, this, really. It's got it's definitely a spicy mix, this G5 Special. It's darkened down a little bit. Let's see if there's any fish there waiting for us. Fish into a clip. Just going to hit the clip down in that position there. Only got single maggot on, so we could end up with a bleak or anything on this cast. I don't think there's hardly any flow, to be honest. I'll just pop that there. 2 ounce tip. This is a much finer tip than the other one. The other one's 2.5 ounce on the barbel setup, if you want to call it that. I'm just going to start off with single red maggot on, just to see if you can get a feel for what's there. Well, that was really interesting. I had 4 casts on that ground bait line and I never had a sign. Never had a sign, and then out of the blue I had a couple of fish. I'm going to swing this, looks like a perch. There we go. I'll stand still. There we go, stuck to the corner of the mouth. Lovely looking fish. Yeah, I had a few casts on the ground bait. there wasn't anything there waiting for us. I thought there were going to be some fish there, even if they were only small fish. The interesting thing was, I switched to a maggot feeder, and I literally just had 3 casts with a maggot feeder, i.e. no ground bait at all. I didn't expect to be feeding any ground bait at all anyway, with the conditions and the clarity of the water, and I've suddenly had a run of fish. So I had 3 or 4 fish, and then nothing, absolutely nothing at all. So I've switched back to the ground bait feeder, just with the open ender, and within 2 casts I was getting bites again. But then by keeping the ground bait feeder on, the fish would back off, so then I had to put a maggot feeder back on. So already it seems as though they want the maggots. If you was fishing a float, you'd be loose feeding maggots anyway, but I can't keep them in the peg long enough with just maggot. I have to, they either spook or move away for some reason, and that's when I have to put the ground bait in again to try and get them back in the peg, and then once they're in the peg, then start giving them some maggots. So already there's a bit of a pattern there. I'm not feeding too many, only about 15 maggots well, just to get them there originally, 15 maggots or so, and then once they're there, I can literally just trickle a few maggots in. But I've just had to put the feeder arm down a little bit lower because of the flow, or lack of flow, and the wind's bouncing the tip around a little bit. I've lowered the tip down, and that's set really nice now. I've just had to make a couple of little adjustments, but that's set really nice now. I've still got that 2-ounce tip in. It's just a nice angle. I'm fishing really quickly as well, so a lot of the bites I've had have really been as soon as the feeders hit the deck, and that's what you'd expect from these little dace and roach. And I've switched from red maggot. I haven't caught with red maggot, not on this line. It's been white maggot has been best. So maybe they're picking the white maggot out a lot quicker in this really clear water, I don't know. But just single white maggot at the minute. I'm not getting any indications that there are bigger fish there, so I'm just going to try and catch a few of these small fish, just see what's there. You never know, if there are other fish there, then I'm sure they'll let us know. But at the minute, you see now I've not had a sign now. That's been in about a minute now. Usually I've had a bite by now. When I've had a fish, or when there've been fish there, I've had a bite by now. So this is probably the 5th cast with a maggot feeder. So I'm probably going to have to go back to a ground bait feeder now, have a couple of casts on the ground bait feeder, get some fish back in the peg, and then go back and just keep switching like that, rotating like that. They seem to be backing off for some reason. I don't think it's because I'm feeding too much. But as the session pans out, hopefully a bit more of a pattern will emerge, and that'll allow us to keep putting some fish in the net. Well, I've had to make some more changes now. This wind is really getting up. It's not actually hitting me physically, but it's howling down here now. The tip's bouncing around in the wind. It's also affecting the casting, and because the wind is downstream, that 20 gram block end feeder that I've got on just simply isn't heavy enough. You can't tighten up to it properly. The tip's bouncing around. So because there is little flow, I've positioned the rod rest down now. So I'm fishing it more conventionally as though it was a still water. Just got a nice angle in it now so I can see the bites. And what I've also done is, which I'll show you in a minute, I've added a little bit of extra weight to the feeder, because it just means you can tighten up to it quicker and easier. Because when you get a bow in your line, that was a quick bite then. I think we've missed that one. I'll just show you what I've done. It just means you can tighten up to the feeder a lot quicker and you're fishing quicker. Yep, smash the bait. What I've actually done is, this is a 20 gram block end. Lovely little feeder, but unfortunately I can't find a 30 gram version in my box. I've got loads of 40s, and 40 gram would just be too heavy. So all I've done is, I've put inside a 10 gram bomb. So that's just a bomb inside. So straight away I've added an extra 10 gram to that, so that's now 30 gram. I don't need the full capacity of the feeder because I'm not filling it anyway. So I can still get, 15 maggots, 20 maggots in there, no problem. And it's nice and neat. There's no, it's not like you've clipped any lead onto the outside. It's still nice and neat, so you're not going to get entangles. So I can still add a few maggots in there, and I could just tighten up to it much quicker now with that extra 10 gram on. Well, it's great that there are so many small fish there. We've certainly had to make a few tweaks on this method today. Like I say, I've had to keep putting ground bait in. then switching to a maggot feeder. Just constantly ringing the changes, can't pin them down for some reason. With a longer tail, you can get plenty of bites, but then you have trouble hitting the bites. So certainly I had to do lots of tweaking on this method. I've got a few fish. I think if I stuck it out the rest of the session, I could get a nice little net of small fish, but I'm just way too tempted to go back on that barbel line, as I keep calling it. I'm dying to go back across there. I haven't been back over there since that first spell this morning when we had that small barbel. So it's 1:30. I'm going to spend the remainder of the session across there with the maggot feeder on and just see if we can catch another barbel. Well, I've had about 6 casts out there. I've had a couple of little dace. Occasionally, if I leave it in a long time, the maggot is getting smashed. Fishing with 3 maggots on. I've just had another drop back bite and I've hooked something slightly better. Don't know if it's another little barbel. Let's have a look. I'll try and net this one in shot for you. It's a chub. Look at that, what a beauty. It's a cracking chub, that one. Look at that one. Look at the size of the mouth on him. They're what we used to catch on here years ago. You know, the Trent was full of chub, big chub like this. Used to be able to pile maggots in. I used to love fishing for him. But what a stunning fish. Look at that, it's a fantastic condition. Just look at the mouth on him. There's no wonder they can get through so many maggots. Lovely drop back bite again. And it's in absolutely fantastic condition. Let's see if there's any more out there. Well, that was another drop back bite. I've just stepped up to a 50 gram feeder now, so it's an extra 10 grams heavier. I don't need that really to hold bottom, but the wind is really, you know, every now and then it's dislodging the feeder because of the wind, and it's just making casting a little bit more accurate as well. Don't know what this one is. Doesn't feel as big as the last fish, but we don't know what to expect. That's part of the surprise. Big perch. It's a big billy. Always a possibility of catching these on a river like this. Another bonus fish though. A bonus fish from the bonus line. There we go. Lovely perch. We put his top. There we go. Look at that. Fantastic condition fish as well. You see the 3 maggots just in its mouth there. Lovely bonus. Lovely bite as well. I love it when you're hitting just about every bite because it means that your rig's working, which can be a problem when you're fishing like this, especially in these conditions. Well, it's been only a short session. I fished for about an hour and a half for these small fish, and I've caught loads of little roach, little dace, 1 or 2 bleak in there as well on that 23 metre line with the G5 special ground bait. And then I've cast across, obviously, for bigger fish, and you know, we had the perch, which was the last fish on that line, a nice little bonus perch, and then obviously that beautiful chub, absolute immaculate condition. Always a pleasure catching fish like that. And then obviously the star of the show was that little barbel at the start, which we put straight back. Absolute stunning fish. Fantastic session. The river is so low, it's gin clear, and some people have really struggled for bites. So fishing like the way that we've done today, it's really ensured a day's sport with 1 or 2 bonus fish mixed in. Well, I hope you've enjoyed following me through that session. I've really enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up. and don't forget to hit subscribe just there if you don't want to miss out on any future videos. And if you want to see more in-depth tuition style, real detailed fishing videos, then check out my other channel just there, Patron TV. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.